So I have a pretty interesting list here, and I think there's a few that might surprise you in this list. That being my top 25 fantasy football players. Interestingly enough, you guys are probably watching this on Monday or Tuesday after I've already done that. So, hi guys, if you're watching this, hi. Yeah, this is what I'm going based off of for Sunday. Just in case you question any of my picks. This is going to be my top 25, and I'm pretty confident in this. Number one, obviously, Jonathan Taylor. I don't even want to. We don't need to argue about that. Jonathan Taylor's going number one. This man right here. This time next week, we'll have Jonathan Taylor as his running back. But the draft
Yes,
really
sir.
starts. Draft really starts at pick two, and 2 to 4. I have running back, running back, running back going in order there. My first of that bunch is Christian McCaffrey. I know. It's Christian McCaffrey. He gets hurt a lot, but the upside, it's football, guys. The upside's there. Everybody gets hurt. And then if he does explode, then you got a really good player there. Number 3, Austin Eckler, the Chargers. There's been a lot of fantasy football people that I've seen kind of poo poo at the idea of Austin Eckler. I don't really understand that. He is obviously the surefire number one there. They keep trying to give him a backup. Isaiah Spiller hasn't looked too good in camp so far. So he's just going to continue to get a lot of work, both pass game and the running game. So I really like Austin Eckler at 3. It's probably who I'm going to even end up with, I'm being honest. And at 4, I have Derrick Henry. He's coming off an injured season, but it's the first time really seeing him get hurt like that. So I still feel confident in the top 4. You shook your head a little bit, so I'm sure you have that in a little bit different order.
So we're at 4 picks, right? So you said CMC at number 2. That already, I'm gonna argue with the majority here. I think if it was just last season, I'd be on your side with that. That, oh, it's just football and he's fine. Like, it's football, everybody gets hurt. But it wasn't just one season, and it wasn't just
It
one
wasn't.
injury.
It wasn't.
It was a mixture of injuries last year. It was a mixture of injuries the year before. He's played what, 8 games in 2 years? Come on,
It's a big risk. It's a very big
it's a
risk.
very big risk.
But if he does pan out, because we saw Derrick Henry get hurt. He got hurt week 8 last year. That could happen again. Austin Eckler is a little dude. He could get hurt too.
Austin Eckler's been hurt,
Everybody can get hurt at
so
any given moment.
I'm and so I'm gonna go ahead and bump Eckler up to 2, because he has been hurt in the past. He missed some games last year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but he's not consistently injured. He's not. It's not just no the same injury, uh, over and over
No, he
again.
his
So
his health history doesn't concern me at all.
so yeah, his health history does not concern me either.
Doesn't have as
I'm
good a
put
height as an upside though
Yeah, his definitely his
as
ceiling
CMC.
is his floor is high, but his ceiling is low.
Yeah.
So he's more of like a safe option. I'm gonna go ahead and actually I'm gonna keep Henry at 3.
So you're going to put CMC at 4?
I'm gonna put CMC at 4, and it's honestly a toss up with him. And I'm gonna still, I already know who your 5 is. I'm gonna go ahead and surprise these people and put Dalvin Cook at 5.
That's actually
Um,
not my 5, but
oh really?
no, yeah.
So I figured because he always talked about Dalvin
I
Cook.
do like Dalvin. He's very quick coming up
So
here.
unless you had Cooper Cup there, then
Yeah. Well, let me actually go through my 5 through 10
yeah,
from
yeah.
here, and
So
then you
go
can talk
ahead.
about. So number 5, this is where I think a lot of people are going to disagree. 5, I have Justin Jefferson over Cooper Cup.
Not arguing.
I like the sound of that. The Stafford elbow concerns me, but 6, I do have Cooper Cup. He did just have one of the greatest fantasy football receiving record years of all time. So Cup 6, Dalvin Cook, who somebody I'd even consider at 4. If let's say it's between him and Derrick Henry, I don't know. In the moment, I might get weird. I might pick Dalvin Cook. Number 8, Jamar Chase. 9, Alvin Kamara, and I'll stop at 10 with Stephon Diggs.
Okay. So going back a little bit just to 4, I never really said why I have Derrick Henry there. Um, he is coming off that injury, like you said, and that playoff game that he played was absolutely horrendous. People blame Tannehill. I put it on the entire offense because that was just horrendous. I mean, he ran 20 something times and didn't even get like what, 30
Yeah.
yards. Like, it was from Derrick Henry. That was just like, maybe he rushed back for the playoff game. Maybe he could have, used a couple extra
But
weeks.
you're taking him at 4 still though, right?
And it's really just a toss up, and it's only because Dalvin Cook is injured literally every year. to the point where you need to draft his backup, Alexander
Yeah.
Madison.
So that's why I have him down as 7. I think 7's a good place for him. I'd even consider moving up before that. The biggest argument here is Justin Jefferson versus Cooper Kupp. I like Justin Jefferson a lot. I like that Minnesota offense a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There is the big question of Matt Stafford's elbow. He's probably going to be good to go at the beginning of the season. They're probably going to try to make it work. But let's just say week 8, they're like, wait a minute, he's not going to hold up for the entirety of the season. Maybe they want to even say, we're just going to bench him for the rest of the regular season and see if we can try to make it work in the postseason. That concerns me. That immediately takes a hit on both Cooper Kupp and then later on Allen Robinson's stock. So Justin Jefferson, a much more assured offense, I'm going to take him there over Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. And just to bounce off the Matthew Stafford injury, I think I talked to you a little bit about it. It really concerns me because I see it a lot in baseball. They actually refer to it more as like a baseball elbow, like a pitcher's elbow is what they call it.
They're talking about Tommy John surgery for it.
Possibly Tommy John, because it's the UCL, which is the ligament in your elbow that goes all the way up to your thumb. It's what hurts pitchers the most, and that's Tommy John surgery. And that you're talking about, that's what Big Ben had, and he was never the same.
Yeah, even beyond this season, that's a concern. But just for the now, that's a concern. So Cooper Kupp, somebody who was at one point the surefire number 2 overall pick for me, I think pick 6. That's what Adam. I think it's Adam.
Yeah,
I think Adam for sure would take him at that point. Alvin Kamara is somebody who's now back, I think, to his rightful spot. There was a big concern, and there's still a slight concern about whether he can end up being suspended at some point in the season. The court date kept getting pushed further and further and further back. Now it's at a point where it's in late October. There's a good chance that might get pushed back again. So if he's suspended, it might not even be till next year.
I thought it was pushed back to at the end of the season, after the season.
I don't think that's been done yet. I think that's going to happen, but I don't think that's been officially happened yet.
I thought I heard reports that it was actually pushed back to after the season, but it's leaning towards it. I mean, the NFL this year is just weird. I think they need the Saints to be good because no one else in that division is good, besides the Bucks. So they want something to compete with Brady, and plus, Brady never beating the Saints in the regular season might be a story headline for them. I mean, we already know the NFL is all about ratings. That's why 11 games for Deshaun Watson. Yeah. So we're not gonna table that, but he just happens to, instead of an even 12 games and missing the Texans game, it just happens his first game back to the Texans. So moving on. So Kamara, you had him at 8.
I have him at 9. And following him, I think another interesting take is, so we know there's a group of wide receivers. So there's 8 is Ja'Marr Chase. There's a group of wide receivers that are for sure the top 3 off the board: Jefferson, Kupp, and then Chase, right? Or yeah, I think Jefferson, Kupp, Chase. Those 3 are the for sure. You can argue the order.
I feel like they should be the only receivers taken in the first round.
Well, then it gets to the late of the first round. That's when you can take a quick running back right afterwards. The next picks of the bunch, that's another argument you can make. I have Diggs going over Davante Adams. I think that could be the best quarterback wide receiver connection this year. We don't know what's going on with Stafford and what's going on with Stafford this year, so how it's going to affect Kupp. So we saw a little bit dip in the numbers last year from Stephon Diggs, but 2 years ago he was wide receiver 2 or 3. So I expect that to continue, and I have him going before Davante Adams. I'm going to go now 11 to 15. One of the guys I've not been that high on, Najee Harris, finally coming off the board. The ADP for him is like a 7. I have him lower than that. I am going off the board at 11. Najee Harris, Davante Adams. So I still have him as a first-round pick. Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, and then CeeDee Lamb. I really like CeeDee Lamb, and I could justify him going even higher than that, especially look how depleted this offense is. The run game's going to struggle after Tyron Smith just got announced out for the season now. CeeDee Lamb is really the only consistent weapon that you feel good about with the Cowboys going on into this next season. Davante Adams, I think he's going to have a great year still. I think people are a little bit overselling that he's going to have a drop-off with Derek Carr. I still really like Derek Carr. But is there any name there that stands out to you that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, I'm not going to really argue with the positioning. Just I do agree. I go further on Davante Adams. I actually, I'm going to put Davante Adams above Diggs. The reason being is I feel like Buffalo's run game, which was a lack thereof last year, it got stronger this year with the signings of Duke Johnson, the draft of James Cook. And it looks like what's the name? Running back. Come on, help me out here. I'm drawing a blank, having a brain fart.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
The starting running back.
For who? What team?
Bills.
Oh, Singletary.
Singletary.
Come on, look at where you're recording. How are you gonna forget Devin Singletary?
Dude, I'm sorry.
He played football right over there.
I had a brain fart for his name, but so Devin Singletary, he took a large step this offseason. It looked like they're saying that he looks a lot better, probably because the motivation of drafting a running back that high and signing Duke Johnson kind of pushed him. So they might have a really strong run game this year and be more run heavy.
I'll believe it when I see it.
And I think so. Diggs, meanwhile, he may be better than last year. I don't think he's going to be better than Devontae Adams, who I think that's going to be a real pass-heavy offense this year. With Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller is going to be healthy. That offensive line is decent, but
no, it is not. The Raiders' offensive line?
It's decent.
It's awful. It's a bottom 10 offensive line.
So
we've surpassed them, and that's saying something. The Bills, on the other hand, one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Yes. But
I don't think the run game is going to be enough to take away from that from the production of Diggs.
Well, I was going to argue the opposite for the Raiders, that I think that they're going to have a lack of run game. They're going to have to heavily lean on Josh Jacobs, and I mean they just released Kenyon Drake. They don't really have a good run backup after that. So Josh
he
Jacobs
was like fourth on the depth chart.
Who?
Kenyon Drake.
No, he wasn't. He was second.
We're not gonna have a conversation because you're just gonna defend him unnecessarily.
He's a good backup.
He sucks. Go on.
He's a good backup.
He sucks. Go on.
It's a backup, a good backup, and I'm going
for the AAF.
He's a good backup in the NFL. So anyway, before we go like 10 minutes doing that, I just think there's not going to be a good enough run game there, and it's going to be real pass heavy. Especially Devontae Adams. He's still one of the best route runners in the league. Probably better than Justin Jefferson. Arguably.
Yeah.
It's arguable between the two.
But he does step into an offense now with a lot more targets to go around on the offensive side of things, which is why Diggs does get the slight nod for me. You have a better quarterback, you have less mouths to feed, and you're kind of close to each other in terms of talent. I'm really high on Stephon Diggs. You go with the Raiders, Devontae Adams is going to have competition. Darren Waller. Josh Jacobs is still a decent running back. It's not. I don't want to poo-poo him too much.
I think so. Going back to what you said, when Devontae was in Green Bay, he was being doubled all the time. Didn't really matter. But now when you have Darren Waller there, who's guarding Darren Waller? It's going to be the safety. And I think they rather cover Devontae with two corners and Waller with a safety, rather than the other way around. So it's going to be even easier for Devontae to feed.
It's definitely a decent toss-up, decent argument to be made. Those are my wide receiver 4 and 5 in these rankings, but then CeeDee Lamb finishing it out as my wide receiver 6.
I love CeeDee Lamb.
Love CeeDee Lamb. Moving on to 16 through 20 we'll do. First tight end, Travis Kelce coming off the board. Deebo Samuel, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, and Javonte Williams. All very solid guys there. All have their reasons for doubt. Kelce is the only mouth to feed in that offense now, so he is going to become a little easier to defend.
Deebo, they got Juju, they got MVS. I'm kidding, guys.
Deebo Samuel, he's probably going to take a step back in his role in the offense, and honestly, I might drop him even further in this list. He's not going to be running the ball as much, and the team as a whole, I think, is going to be running the ball more. Trey Lance is going to now be more of a weapon than this offense has ever seen from their quarterback. Following that, Aaron Jones has to deal with A.J. Dillon, who I'm also really high on, and I think they'll often be on the field at the same time as each other because there's no real wide receivers on that team. Nick Chubb has to deal with Kareem Hunt, has to deal with Jacoby Brissett, the other team knowing that they can't really throw the ball downfield. And Javonte Williams, he's been climbing more and more for me. I was kind of skeptical on him earlier in the offseason, but Melvin Gordon's role looks to be minimal, so I'm not really concerned about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was always high on Javonte Williams. Aaron Jones, I mean, we've been hearing that A.J. Dillon is going to be, taking over.
You're not as high on A.J. Dillon as I am.
I was high on him 2 years ago, but it's just been talk.
But no, we saw it last year. He outgained him on the ground.
Yardage-wise, he had more yards?
On the ground, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Aaron Jones gets a lot of production in the passing game, and because of the lack of a receiver, I can see him ending up in the slot a lot. It's kind of what people hope.
Pollard.
Well, that I was more so going to say the Jaguars with James Robinson, Travis Etienne. Anybody who drafts either of those players, kind of hoping that both players get a large amount of production. In Green Bay, I think that's the more likely team to have that happen, just because of the lack of any other weapons on that team. Where you have AJ Dillon in the backfield, or even a two-man backfield, and then you have Aaron Jones out wide. I think
Yeah.
that's a good option for the Packers.
The Packers are really liking Dubes though.
Yeah, but he's a what, undrafted rookie, or was he a late round pick? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think he was either a late round pick, but their second round pick, he's been decent in camp. He hasn't really done too much. Alan Lazard, their only one really speaking high on him is Aaron Rodgers. So
Yeah, and we've never seen him blossom into anything more. So yeah, all those guys very
I
solid.
really like
16
those.
to 20, 21 to 25 to wrap this up. I have our boy Saquon, who's had a really good camp and looked good in the preseason game. Tyreek Hill, our actual boy, Mike Evans, Mark Andrews, tight end number 2, and then Keenan Allen wrapping up the top 25. So mostly pass catchers there as you finally start to break away from the good running backs
Yeah,
at the end there.
because I feel like the running back, it's going to be a little bit of a shortage this year, whereas
it's going to go
pass
quick.
catchers, I feel like pass catchers, there's much more of a depth to that. That's why I really don't feel too bad having the number 1 overall pick this year, because when I'm picking at 24, I'm still gonna have a decent receiver there, I think.
Yeah, like you can easily end up with Mike Evans, Mark Andrews, Keenan Allen. Even beyond that, there's Michael Pittman, who I really like, T. Higgins. So there's a decent core of wide receivers there.
In most of the mocks that I've done, I've gotten Keenan Allen and T. Higgins.
Yeah, and that's not bad at all.
As my 1 and 2 receivers. And then going down further, I get a decent running back 2 and probably Travis Etienne as my RB3. So, I mean, that you're talking about.
You're not getting that anymore. Travis Etienne is probably going before your 4th pick.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But
he really rose up the boards.
But anyway, yeah, I like that there. Mark Andrews, I'm really high on this year. I know you're gonna like hearing that because you're a Ravens fan.
And I think that's right. I think that's rightfully so. He is, like, outside Rashad Bateman, the only reliable pass catcher on that team, and he was.
Did you just call Rashad Bateman a reliable pass catcher?
Well, that's kind of saying something. That he is he's the best wide receiver on that team.
Okay,
he barely played last year.
We're talking about a guy. We're also talking to Ravens fan here, and
I think he's a good.
Ravens fan and Dolphins fan, and he said to me that he hopes Preston Williams gets cut or traded
to the Ravens,
and he hopes that he goes to the Ravens because
I know he's not trash, but I just don't want him on my Dolphins team anymore.
Yeah,
I'm sick and tired of him. That's a new. that's still a new beginning, even though it'd be just on my other team.
Yeah, so
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and so I had him on the top of the Ravens list. I think they still need a receiver really badly.
Yeah, but as long as they don't, Mark Andrews, if you took him as tight end number 1, I can't really argue with that.
Honestly,
I've done quite a few mocks where I've gone running back, and then the second pick, because Kelsey's usually gone by this point, taking Mark Andrews.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews, I think he was tight end 1 last year. So, but like you said, the only reason for really taking Kelsey over him is for the fact that there's no one else in that offense. I mean, yeah, you got Juju, but what he's done the past 2 years, you have Sky Moore, who, I mean, looks decent. They're saying he's Tyreek Hill 2.0. I'll believe when I see it.
I like Sky Moore. Later in the draft, I like Sky Moore.
I'm okay with Sky Moore.
Of anybody on that team, I want to draft. Of anybody outside of Kelsey, I want to draft him for where he's going. I'd rather have him than Juju or McCole Hardman.
McCole Hardman's probably not going to play this season. Didn't he get arrested?
I don't know. Probably. It's the NFL. They always are.
It was either he got arrested or he got hurt. I can't remember which one.
I don't know. But yeah, on Kansas City, the only guy. I mean, Kelsey, and then I want Sky Moore. But running through that list one more time for you guys. Obviously, top dog Jonathan Taylor, CMC, Eckler, Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson are my top 5, followed by Cooper Kupp, Dalvin Cook, Jamar Chase, Alvin Kamara. Hopefully, I have this on the screen somewhere. Let's just block him out. We don't need him here. Alvin Kamara, Stephon Diggs, Najee Harris, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, CeeDee Lamb, Travis Kelce, Deebo Samuel, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Javonte Williams to wrap out the top 20. And the finishings off to 25, Saquon, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Mark Andrews, Keenan Allen. I like that list. This is what my list is. I'm going to be going on drafting.
I really like that list.